Okay, so hello, good afternoon. We're going to go ahead and get started. We are recording this session, so excuse me, I don't know how to make this go away. So we're just going to keep it over in the corner and hopefully it will work. So today we're going to talk about giving effective feedback and what that looks like for your student employees. Also, there's not a good place to see it in here. So I'm sorry, if I move around. We're going to talk about giving effective feedback to your employees and what effective feedback is, what the evaluation process will look like in the future, and giving you guys some good tools to go forward with that feedback to help your students be professional in the workplace. So first, So first I wanted to talk about what an ideal student employee is. So what do you think is an ideal student employee? So just throw some things out that you think are ideal student employees. Oh, in your packet too, there's a note page on the right-hand side. So if you want to take that, have it for you.
I would say follow directions.
Follow directions. Punctual. Punctual. Polite. Yes. Absolutely. Yep. Follow directions. I think for me, like a good work ethic, so showing up on time kind of encompasses all of that, showing up on time, being respectful to the customers and to your coworkers and your supervisors. Anything else that you can think of? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. When your student employee is showing up 3 days in a row in the same outfit, it's probably ready for time for a conversation. Anything else? What do you think makes an ideal student employee? Or an employee?
Like self-motivated.
So before we talk about evaluating our students, we want to make sure that we understand what an optimal student employee looks like, and ultimately what we want them to learn from that experience. So here are some things that we came up with. So the customer service, so being able to understand that and explain that, being friendly, excellent, accurate, and timely when they're communicating, not just with students, other students that are inspiring, but also with coworkers, right? So if someone from another department came into your department, you want them to be able to have the right information and get that information in a timely manner. Takes initiative, is reliable, takes on ownership, professionalism, which we're going to talk about more, is dependable, is a team player. So I know for me, some of the students that I supervise, one of them will never help out whenever, like, she only does her bare minimum. She never helps out and goes above and beyond. And so someone who is a team player and will help in those times. Someone who's a problem solver, who has critical thinking, good work ethic, coachable, teachable, has discernment, so they can kind of start making decisions when they need to and then ask if that's okay. And then communication skills, so someone who's working on their communication skills and can work with others. So do you guys think this, is there anything else that you would add that's not on this list? So talking about, this is the ideal student workers, so this is what we want our student workers to look like, but what do we want our student workers, what do we want them to learn from the experience? So what do we want them to, when they leave your office, we want them to know these certain things. And so us as student employment office started to talk about is for them to learn, we need to be able to explain those things to them and get them the outcomes. So we came up with, I'm going to count on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. So we came up with 6 objectives objectives and kind of explain them of what that looks like. So communication, problem solving, professionalism, customer service, teamwork, and feedback. Because those are the 6 things that we wanted our students when they left our office to receive and learn from being a student worker. And also to learn professionalism and that, and they can take that with them. So student employees will be able to effectively communicate with supervisors, customers, and coworkers. We want them to be able to talk to each other, be able to explain things to one another. But also, if you give a student worker a task and then you need to go to a meeting, if they can't complete the task, then they communicate with you that that task was not completed, unless it's for someone else to complete later on. We want them to identify problems and develop practical solutions that meet the needs of customers and align with the value of the department of the university. So part of learning, and all of us know this in our roles, is we have to problem solve. And we have to be able to think critically. We're not always going to be fed the answers and said, here's the solution, now just do it. Sometimes we have to figure it out on our own. So we want our students to start doing that as student workers. This is a safe space for them. I know as a student worker for 4 years, I learned a lot. I learned a lot of my problem solving, a lot of my critical thinking in the professional world with working in that element. And so we want them to be able to see a problem, figure out a solution, and then come to you and say, hey, this is what we can do to fix it. All of our student workers are integral parts of our department. We couldn't function without them. And so we want them to feel like they have value as well and that they're helping the university. Exemplify appropriate professionalism for the position and setting. So this goes with dress. It goes with showing up on time, having a good work ethic. If a student worker is always consistently 15 minutes late, it's probably a good time to sit down and say, hey, what's happening? Like, do you know what time you're supposed to come in? Do we need to adjust your work schedule if that is appropriate? So helping them to learn in that position, to learn to be a professional, even if they are just a student worker. And we don't ever want them to feel like they're just a student worker. We want them to feel like they are making a difference in our department. Interact with customers in a speech manner, so our friendly, excellent, accurate, and timely manner. So helping them to understand how important customer service is. I know Dr. McDowell, for those of you who are there today, talked about customer service and how that's a huge initiative that they have taken on. And so we want to excel. We want to be the top. When people think of Mid-America, they think, man, they have great customer service. And so that starts with our student workers. And then we also want them to receive, discuss, and apply feedback. So that's kind of what we're talking about today is we need to be able to give them feedback. We're going to talk about how to give them appropriate feedback, formal and informal. Them feeling that they can discuss it with us when we do give them feedback, and then applying it to their work. And then lastly, we want them to explain what they do impacts departmental functions. So they not only are the student workers, but they're important and they're moving the university along in the direction it needs to go. Does anybody have any questions about the learning objectives? So see, these are a lot more. We're going to start implementing these throughout. So Bill Gates said we all need people who will give us feedback. That's how we improve. And if you think about it, we all get feedback. We all need feedback to be able to do our job well and to improve in our job. So we should do the same for our students. If we want them to move us and be able to excel and when they leave in America and excel in the professional world. Morgan, cut it off.
So I think a lot of times when we think about giving feedback, we don't realize that we actually get feedback every single day, right? Now, feedback can be scary. It's sometimes scary to receive feedback. I can remember my first performance evaluation. I thought I was doing a good job. I thought my boss was going to tell me I was doing a good job. I was still completely terrified to walk into that room, right? And And I think even still, there's a little bit of anxiety. And there's anxiety for me as a supervisor when I know I need to have a hard conversation with Jessica, which is not very often at all. But it can be really intimidating, I think, because the idea that you need to give feedback. So I want to show you guys some feedback that you already give probably every day. One of those is how many of you give feedback on, like, Facebook? You take those surveys, office training surveys, right? We do tons of surveys here at the university. Have you noticed we do a lot of surveys here at the university? We're asked to do all those surveys here at the university. I don't know if you do that. But we also give feedback by liking things on Facebook, or they took away the unlike button. I don't know if you guys noticed that. But on YouTube, you can thumbs up or thumbs down, right? Another way that we gave feedback is by voting, right? Yes, I like what you're doing. No, I don't like what you're doing. And so we see those people in and out of office. We also give feedback. Coaches give feedback. And do we have any, like, little league coaches in here? None of you. Okay. Well, that would be also a way to give some feedback. We give feedback when we get tips. Right? I am not a flat 20%. I am usually like 15 or 25%. And if you gave me really good service, then sometimes it's even 30 or 40% if I can afford it. I mean, we do work in nonprofit, right? But I try to give what I can, and that's the way that I give feedback consistently. We went out to eat today, stuffed olives, really liked that place. They did a really good job, took care of us. You know what? I left a good tip for them. Right? That's something where we give feedback every single day. Now that one we can give without actually like having to talk to the person. We just write it down and then leave the table really quickly. Right? A little bit more passive way, but we do give feedback that way. And then this is probably my favorite. This is my husband with my 3 dogs. And we give feedback by giving treats. Right? That if they did what we wanted them to do sitting right there, right? That they're going to get treats and receive some good feedback in that way. So I think when we think about feedback, we think it has to be revolutionary. I have to prepare a big form. No, feedback does not have to be that formal, and it's something that many of you guys are already doing on a daily basis. You just don't realize that you're doing it. So, after that, definitely.
So this is a short, we're going to watch a short video, and this is just an example of the previous kind of giveaway, but it's just an example of someone not getting as well feedback, and then someone not responding to that feedback in a good manner. So.
Okay, let's talk about your report. Here is Bill quarterly. This is what you give me. You know, a lot of our associates are taking workloads, trying to take a lot of workloads. You're off, God, look where it is, God, look what. I still have a good work habit. I think it's no, man, we need art with a structure. Goodbye. I don't he said it before. No.
So sometimes we give feedback like that, right? I don't know what just happened here. Okay. So we give feedback like that. We go into a situation, and part of the formal feedback that we give is we say, here's everything you're doing wrong. Please, I just need like this starting work, this is it. Like, and then the person who has never received any type of feedback before goes, what are you talking about? I don't do those things. I don't know what you're talking about. So sometimes even in situations when you haven't received feedback in a formal manner or informal, by just like your supervisor like calling me in and saying, hey, like, thank you so much for working on this report, but this is how we need to make it more effective, and this is how it will be better. Those types of informal feedback are essential to making sure that when we do get to the formal feedback, there's no surprises and they receive it well. So Frank A. Clark said, criticism like rain should be gentle enough to nourish a man's growth without destroying its roots. And I like this quote because it really explains what we want to do with student employees. We want to help them grow, but we don't want to destroy them. We don't want to tear them apart, but we want to give them feedback, even if it's letting them go from a job. We want to give them feedback that when they leave that job, they're going to go, man, I should have done that better. How can I fix that so that way I can, my next job that I have, I can be a better professional. So some ways that we give effective feedback. I'm so sorry, I don't know what's happening here on this. So some ways that we want to give effective feedback. So Morgan came up with an acronym and she shared it with me of SHARE. So sensitive, honest, actionable, respectful, and empathetic. So we want to be sensitive to how we give them informal and formal feedback. We never want to go in and say, you're doing a terrible job, I just need to believe that you've done that, you got to straighten up. So being sensitive to their needs and understanding that how we give them that feedback is how they're going to receive it. We want to go in and make sure that we've thought it through and evaluated before we go in and give them that feedback. We want to be honest though. We don't want to say, oh, you kind of did a good job, it's fine, don't worry about it, just work on this. We want to be honest with them. If something's not working, if it's not how it needs to be done, being honest with them and giving them that feedback in the appropriate manner. We want it to be actionable. We want them to be able to take something with them that they can go, okay, I can work on this. And I'm going to show you a form later that Morgan has introduced to me, and I think it's been super helpful of how to give student employees actionable feedback that they can work on right when they leave your office. We want it to be respectful, so we want to be respectful to how we say things. We don't want to yell at them. We want to make sure that we're keeping calm, even if it's a stressful situation. I know that I've had that with a student worker where they look at me and they're like, I still understand what you're talking about. And why are you calling me out? And I'm just like, whew, let me breathe, let me get it together. So we want to make sure that we stay calm and respectful in those situations. And we want to be empathetic and make sure that we are giving them the information that they need, but we're understanding they are student workers, so how can we make them better? Morgan?
So one of the things, what would a training session be at MACU without a giant tool? So let's talk through this giant tool. I don't know if you guys have seen this. This is called Power Up the CPM, right? As it says in the top corner. So one of the things that Giant and the company they work with has done is how is challenge received based on the medium in which it's given, right? Because I know for me, it's much easier to just text my student worker and be like, stop being late all the time. One, that's not very empathetic. They can't hear my tone. They don't know how much I respect and love and care for them, right? They just probably hear the annoyance in the text message. Also, when you're bringing challenge, it says text messages are only about 10% effective. I don't know about you, but if I'm going to go to the effort of giving my student employee feedback, I want it to be effective. I don't want to have to do it 15 times. I want to get it done and get it done right. And so text message is probably not the most efficient form of feedback. I know you guys are probably not surprised by that. If your boss sends you feedback via text message, you would probably be like, that's kind of weird. And a lot of times, I think when we have to suggest those written words, it can be misconstrued, right? I think that there's a lot of people, me, I'm a feeler, so everything goes straight to my heart, right? So if my boss meant it just very casually and softly, and she sent it through text message, I'm going to take that really personally, and it's going to go a lot deeper and harder than they probably would if she had something seen in person. There's other people that are like, text message, this must not be very important. And they'll blow it off, and then you're not getting those results either, right? When we look at email is about 15% effective to bring challenge. A phone call your office 15 minutes ago, right? That video chat is 70% effective, but they say that in person is 95% effective. I know it's hard, but this is what we need to be doing. We need to be addressing these things in person. And one of the things that I like to do is I like to address it in person and then follow up with either an email or text message. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today about your attendance at your job. We know that I really value what you do here, and that's why we need you to show up on time. Well then, if it's a text message and I've already talked in person, it's 105% effective. That's even better, right? That's what we want. Like I said, for me, I know when I'm addressing something, it takes a lot of emotional build-up, right? For me to get ready, to build up the stamina and the emotional energy that it takes to address something, right? That doesn't mean I don't need to address it, but that means I want to address it right. I want to address it the first time, and I want to get it taken care of so we don't have to continually address it. So, power of the medium, ultimately, the best way to address and bring challenge to your student employees is in person. And I do recommend following up with HR, you're with me on that. Follow up with a good email so that you have it documented in writing as well. Thanks, Jessica.
So now we're going to do some scenarios. So we talked about how to do effective feedback, talked about what effective feedback is. So I'm going to, if you guys will pair up, we have like 10 scenarios. We will pair up with someone, and we will give you a scenario for you, and I'll give you about 5 minutes. So I want you to pick one person to be the student and one person to be the supervisor. I'm going to say reviewer, the supervisor.
What?
How are you? Really?
I'll give you guys 5 minutes.
I have to work 5. I'll see you guys tomorrow. One thing I would
Okay, just a couple more minutes and then we'll wrap it up. Oh, okay. And then maybe about having a face-to-face No. I don't think so. Okay, so, how did it go? How did giving feedback go?
I gave her a hard time.
You gave her a hard time? Oh.
I was the worker, she was the employer. I asked her questions.
How did it go? What was easy about it? What was easy about giving feedback? Very good. What was hard about it? Is there anything that you feel like, it's just so hard to say? Anything like that is difficult?
Carol breaks that away.
So I have some volunteers to read their scenario. The other ones to go first. Read their scenario and then talk us through what happened.
We'll read.
Okay.
I'll read it. I was a student.
You're the student. Okay.
Yes. So our student worker is completing her work, but then just sits at the desk until the end of the shift. And you want them to take some initiative and ask for more or find more to do. So when my supervisor, Ashley, came to me and asked if I had completed my tasks, and I simply informed her that I had. And so she asked if there were more tasks, for me to do, and I said, well, I completed everything that you gave me the day before. I completed that day too. And so she decided that maybe we should find a few more tasks for me to do in my downtime so that I don't have downtime. So I don't know if I want to get to stay on or not.
Well, we talked about the importance of washing spots in to getting paid to work, and so she needs to be working washing spots. And Carol said, okay. What do you want me to do now?
Okay, anyone else want to talk about their scenario? You guys did a good job giving them an outline of this is what we do. One thing that we've done in our office for our student workers, we're in and out all the time, and so we have office assistants who are in, and so we have a daily to-do list, and we just have it through the week where we can go and we can write things down, but they can just go and they can come in and they know exactly what they're supposed to be doing. And then if they get that done, they can start with the next phase if they need to, or they can come out again, so that way there's a to-do list first. So, is there anyone else? Scenario. one's over. Okay. Thank you.
I was the student.
Okay.
So your student worker has consistently been showing up 5 minutes late throughout the semester. Now he's showing up 15 to 20 minutes late each day. And she was very flexible with train and asked how she can help, change the time I came in, whatever. That's what we ended up with.
Okay. Good. So how was giving the feedback? Leon, did you get the feedback? How was it?
Actually given the exact same.
Okay.
So the thing that's always hard is you don't know what they're going to answer. You say, hey, ask them what's going on, and it's like, okay, what they're going to answer, and then I'm not always great at thinking on what students, depending on what their answer is.
Yeah.
So that's the hardest part for me.
Anyone else? One other person will read their scenario. Okay, John, do you want to read your scenario?
Well, we actually have the same scenario as table, and their suggestion, and then the suggestions you shared is actually how we Shannon handled it as well. But we both have real life experience. We both kind of previously had the discussion with the student workers about that.
So do you think giving those scenarios was helpful to understand, either for you to explain your review or for you to be the student receiving that? Do you think it was helpful? Do you think that it kind of put you in their shoes a little bit? Yeah. Okay. So one way that we talked a little bit about giving informal and formal feedback. So we give, like Morgan was explaining, we give informal feedback and formal feedback all the time, and you probably don't even realize that you're doing it, such as voting, right? When Morgan said that to me, I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. I would have never thought that as a way of doing feedback. But it's important always to give informal feedback as well. So what is informal feedback? Does anyone know? Body language? It could be body language. It could be anything else with informal feedback. So like just calling them in and saying, hey, can we just chat for a few minutes about X, Y, and Z? So giving them, not setting up a meeting, not giving them a piece of paper, but just saying, hey, can we just chat for a minute about what's going on? So it's important to give them that informal feedback along the way, so that way when we do get to an evaluation, which we're going to talk about, when we get to that point, they're not completely shocked and don't have that, I didn't do anything, I don't know what you're talking about. And you have documentation leading up to it. Hey, this is what you've done really well. So formal feedback and informal feedback can be good feedback. It can be, you're doing a great job. Like that room that you cleaned up for me, it looks awesome after. Better than it has ever looked. Thank you so much for doing that. Or that event that you planned for us, it was awesome. The students really enjoyed it. There was a lot of good feedback afterwards about how it turned out. So we oftentimes think that feedback is negative, but it can be positive too. So that can be the same for informal or formal feedback, meaning positive feedback as well as hopefully bringing that challenge. So we want to
Is there a better way to say, hey, can you swing by my office? Because if I got that text, I'd be like, okay. So,
Jane, I think one of the things that we do is, first, obviously, if I ever say that to the student, they immediately think that they're getting kicked out of school. I mean, that's like, so, but a lot of times if I have a question for them or I want to see how a test went or whatever, so if they're actually, I often say, by the way, yes, you're not in trouble. And you can say that even when you're getting feedback, even if it's constructive feedback, to say, you're not in trouble, I just want to chat about something real quick. But also setting a standard of, if you're doing that regularly and they're not getting in trouble every time they come in, that mindset will shift for them. You know, so when they are, they'll still come by.
No, that's a good question though. And like Allison was saying, I like to just say, like, hey, I just want to check in on how the semester is going. And that can include, you're not showing up to work, so what's going on? Or you're not doing what I need you to be doing, so let's chat about that. So making them realize it's important, what you have to say is important, so they need to come by, but not where they are when they come by, they're already have their defense up. So in the future, so not now, so don't feel terrified. I'm not telling you have to do this year, but next year we're going to start an evaluation process. So we're going to kind of go over that today and show you what that looks like.
Have we done evaluations before on student workers?
Yes, so it just has never been required for you to do it. So,
I would have done.
you just keep thinking that it's required, and we'll just show you the new form, updated form. That's all there is. It's just updated.
Comment.
Yeah.
That whenever I first started, that was in like a packet that I found in my office. So I thought we were supposed to do this.
They were required.
And the student worker that I had at the time, she had worked with the administrator that was there before me. And they were friends, and so she was coming in late and just whenever she wanted and stuff like that. And so finally, I just pulled it out and I said, hey, I don't know if you know this or if you know where your other appraisal service, I guess I'll have to do this at the end of the semester sometime. She's like, oh, I've never had that before. So I sat down and just showed her all the things they gave it to her, and she changed like that when she knew what it was going to be worth it, even though you guys told me that we didn't have to. Yeah. So that did help as far as opening the door and what was expected.
Yeah, and it does help when they know, and just like that, when we know what's expected of us, we can meet that expectation, right? So it's about communicating to them, this is what I need you to do, and this is how we can get from X to Y, and this is how we're going to make you a professional. Part of the evaluation process is, like the plan said, it was required before, so I apologize. And we're just going to make this, not this year, but next year for sure, make it where it will be required for all of you. But we just want to make sure that when they get out, when they graduate from us, when they leave us, when they go into their first place of employment, they're not terrified when they sit down to do that question. They know what it's going to feel like. They know how to give that feedback and apply it. I know that one of the supervisors had said when we were talking about this, that when they give feedback to their student workers, they don't show up later. They're scared. They don't want to come to work. We don't want that to happen, right? We want them to be able to receive that feedback and be able to apply it and to learn from it. And now and then when they go up to their practices. So, in your packet, there's a couple of forms. So the first one that you'll see is a student employee performance appraisal. This shows you like we talked about with the learning outcomes, it's split up. So talking about communication, problem solving, professionalism, customer service, teamwork, and feedback. So you'll see there's these sections in there that you can check. So what you will do with this form is you will fill this out beforehand. So schedule an appointment with them, put it on your calendar, put it on your calendar. Fill this out beforehand. Have everything filled out with the check mark. And this is an electronic version too, and it'll be on the internet. And then go ahead and put the comments, the plans for improvement, future goals, and then have it printed out, have 2 copies printed out. That way you can go over with them. So when they come into your office, you're just going to review it and say, hey, this is what's going on. Let's talk about this. These are the areas that you've really excelled in, and this is where we need you to work a little harder. And then go through, what can we do? How can we get you to that? Because ultimately, we want to help them, right? If we want to help them be better professionals, so come up with a plan for them of, hey, this is what we're going to do, and how can I help you as a supervisor to do we need to fix your like is your schedule not working? If you can't fix that, are you out of work? Do we need to give you more responsibility? So going through that with them. So this will be something that you will go over with your student employees. And I challenge you guys to go ahead and do this at least one formal review this year. You can do 1, you can do 10. It doesn't matter, but I just challenge you to do at least one. form. That way, if you have any questions about, hey, I did this formal review with my student worker, and this didn't go so well. How can you help me? And then we can help you figure out for the next one. Let me give you some feedback on how you can better be more effective to those forms. Another form that's in your thing, in your packet, is there's two other forms. There's a student worker warning notice, so some of you have seen this and you used it. So this form is part of a formal notice form. That way you can give your student workers a formal notice so they know what's coming. I know that I have used this past year, and several of you have used it. This will be a good thing for them to take with them. So sorry. As a formal warning, so that way, and what I like to do is the same thing, type it up beforehand, print out 2 copies, give them one that's signed, and then they can take one with them. And then the other form that you have is the separation paperwork. So if some of you have seen this, some of you haven't. So if you have a student who leaves your office, if it's by discipline choices, or if it's just because they ran out of federal work spending money, or they decided to get another job off campus, or whatever that may be, go ahead and fill this out and send it to our office. This is just the way that us and HR can track who is working in what department, and we can make sure that we have the appropriate paperwork for that. So if a student, if someone does ask for, hey, they come to me or they come to HR, do you have record of the student work? This has all the information on there besides their employment paperwork. The form that I talked about last time or earlier about that will help with giving feedback, and you can start feedback right now, is the start, stop, continue form. So it's a Google form that will be put on Evangelnet today and shared with all of you, so you can go ahead and do that. I also challenge you to at least do this with one of your student workers this semester. So you'll fill this form out, and it will be set up to send you a PDF of the form as well as the student worker. So you can, that way you'll have it in your email address. That way you don't have to wait for me to send it to you. It will go automatically. So start, stop, continue is very simple, of 3 to 4 things of what you're going to do. So this is how it is. It's like this, and we're going to use Shannon, please do. So start. So I need you to start doing this. I need you to start showing us work on time. And then saying, I need you to stop wearing dirty clothes to work. So that way they can go, right now, I need you to stop doing that right now. And then I need you to continue always finishing your work and communicating that with me. So giving them some feedback, but also giving them that praise of like, hey, you're doing this really well, please continue to do this, but I need you to do these things as well. And then there's a plan for improvement.
One of the things that I really like about Start, Stop, Continue is I can usually, for every single one of my staff members, think of something I want them to start doing, stop doing, and continue doing, right? So oftentimes we think about, again, confrontation, addressing something, giving feedback, it can be difficult. Actually, I can think of this probably right now for Jessica. I can think of this for Katie. David hasn't started working for me yet, but I'm sure soon I'll be able to continue. There's a lot of start. And so I think a lot of times when this was first explained to me, it was explained, if I go to lunch with somebody that I'm supervising, I could pull out a napkin and do this on a napkin. Because I think as you're thinking through your student workers, you know, maybe I don't need to do this 3-page formal evaluation right now, but there's some feedback that I can give them about projects I want them to start working on, areas where they need to stop doing something, and things that they need to continue. And this is just a really simple way for you to do that, for you to document a conversation that you've had. And then this goes into we get a copy of it, but we also send a copy to HR. And I think it's good, whether you're highlighting something they're doing well or something that they're not doing well, those are good things for them to have in their HR file here at the university.
Is there any questions on any of the paperwork that we just went over?
Is it inappropriate to go to, I don't want to go to lunch, it's just like one of them, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't buy their lunch, or just this, or I don't know, I'm just trying to think of ways to develop more loyalty. Yes, connect. I do the Sonic drink for every so often for somebody, but then I started worrying about what if somebody saw that and they were like, she doesn't do the Sonic drink for me. Well, I think say I don't like what you do, but I mean, but not really. I mean, you know what I mean? I want to reaffirm the ones that are doing a good job, and then I want to, I don't know, I've thought about meetings, like a little gathering of cookies and milk and talk about things. I don't know, I just kind of.
So I heard you say you were worried because you have people that you don't ever see that you supervise.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm the same way. I have 4 student workers who I never see. They work 6 to midnight every night in the student center and on the weekends. I don't know what they're doing. I know what they should be doing. I don't know what they're doing. So one thing that I've implemented this semester is doing monthly meetings with them and just saying this is a requirement. You can clock in. It's a 15 to 20-minute meeting. Let's just touch base. Is there anything I need to update you on? Because like Morgan was saying, it's hard for me. I can text them, and I texted them this several times, and they still don't get it. Of like, lock the door. Like there's important information you have to lock it before you leave. So then I just tell them at the meeting because it is more effective in person of saying, lock the door. Like if I come in the morning and the door's not locked, like there's going to be a conversation that needs to be had. So having a monthly meeting with them where you say, hey, it's a requirement, all of you need to come. And I know that's hard to find time, but trying to say, or even if you have so many, having 2 or 3 meetings and say you have to pick between one of these 3 times and you have to come. It's a 15-minute meeting, and you can do cookies or whatever, but you don't have to. You can just say, hey, you need to come. This is a requirement. For the job that you have to do this, you need to touch base. And that way they can ask you questions about, hey, actually I can't find the Clorox slide. That's a great question to ask. I should have asked that sooner. But they can still ask that question in a 6 days.
Yeah.
Okay. Does that help a little bit?
Yes.
And absolutely, like you can always still like take them to the cafeteria and have lunch with them. And like I sit down and say with my student workers, just shooting it. So I just say, hey, can I sit with you? And like building that relationship helps them with feedback. Good thing.
Jane, I know that you have a little bit of trouble sometimes. She's getting motivated, you might incorporate that. For sitting them over there to find out. They have a meeting? Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a good idea. They're going to have this.
Right. And all of you should have when the time cards are due on your calendars. If you don't, please let me know. So you can absolutely start with a plan of meetings around when the time cards are due. Anybody else have any other questions or feedback about things that you think would be helpful? Yes, ma'am. Yeah, no.
For me, when I know the steering part of performance appraisal is not known. So I have always provided this document beforehand. So they know they're going to be just on the punctuality. They know when they're going to be just on. So they have no excuse not to be there.
And she can tell day 1.
Right. Yeah. And one thing that we're going to do next semester is do a student employee organization. So all student employees will have to go through that, and we'll go through the evaluation with them. But absolutely saying on day 1, being like, hey, I just want you to know we're gonna evaluate you on these 6 things. And I'm going to be giving you feedback throughout the semester. If you have questions, please come ask me, and I'm always glad to help you. Dr. Close?
No, that's okay.
Any other questions?
Okay. Jessica, what is going to happen? All of these formal papers, what is going to happen when we fill them out? Like, where do they go? What happens?
Great question. I will tell you if I can get that in. So what you will do, oh man, you guys. Okay, so what you will do is you will fill this out and then you will send me a copy of it. So like I said, you'll give them a copy and then you will keep a copy. You can keep a copy for yourself if you would like. Let make sure that you send me the copy, and I will take them to HR. Just making sure that HR, so they will be housed in HR, is where they will be at. But we don't want to flood HR with phrases and things, so I'm going to collect them and take them to them, so that way they can make sure that it's the appropriate places.
And as Jessica said, these are not required this year, but we strongly recommend that you use it. And all of these forms are in draft form. So if you use it and then you say, that question was really worded, Morgan must have been pregnant or something when she please let us know. We want your feedback on these forms so that we can make it something that's going to be an effective tool for you and your student staff.
They will be, yes. They're not in there yet, but they will be on the internet. And then if you can't find them, because I know sometimes I cannot find things, I cannot find something in Google Drive for 2 days. So please email me. I'm always happy to email it to you and give you that one if you can't find it. So last but not least, like we mentioned, positive feedback is just as necessary as the challenge feedback. So there is a Student Employment Appreciation Week. So April 10th through the 13th is Student Employment Appreciation Week. So on the 11th, we will have an event in here. It'll be in this room, and we will celebrate our student workers. So when you came in, you probably heard me say, hey, fill out a nomination form. So all of you should have received an email with the nomination form for the Student Employee of the Year. If you will nominate one person from your department that you supervise for that, then we will pick. We have an outside committee that will pick from those nominations, and we will present them on April 11th at the Student Employee Appreciation event. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. So if you're in transition with our student worker, and can I nominate like the previous one?
Yes. So anyone that has worked in the 16-17 school year, so starting July 1 to now, will be in the 16-17 school year. So absolutely. Even if they don't work for you anymore, or if they graduated, or they found a different job, and so they left the department, anyone that you feel. So you'll see, based on what we talked about today, is what the nomination is. So there's some questions about speech, there's questions about teamwork and feedback on there. So we're really excited. We have some fun things, and you will be getting more information in your folder. There's a save the date. So make sure you put it on your student calendar. It's for them, so we want them there. We're going to have a photo booth, and we're going to give away the Student Employee of the Year award and have some safety cards for them as well. You will be hearing more from me about this event and kind of some ideas that you can show your appreciation to your student workers. Does anybody have any questions over anything? Okay.
Jessica, can you hear me?
Yes, it's coming.
Just
at times when we give feedback, positive or negative, as supervisors, we need to be willing to listen to their feedback that's negative. There has been, I know there has been cases to where the supervisor manager, they can give the negative or positive feedback back out. We're not willing to accept it. And I think good feedback means it needs to be done both ways.
Definitely listening to your student workers and what they have to say is important, and it helps you learn how to be a better supervisor as well. So I just stated about feedback forms, so we'll fill those out. If I will stick around, if you guys have any questions or need anything from me, please ask. And like I said, I will be following up with some really fun ideas of how to start planning to appreciate your student workers. Thank you guys for listening today.
Jessica.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Hey, sweet. So I have a thing to throw out there real quick for what it's worth. Hi, everybody. This is Jennifer Parker, by the way. Hi. One thing I like about Morgan's start, stop, continue, anytime you give feedback, remember to be specific because it goes across, it holds more value. So you don't want to go up to somebody and say, hey, you're doing a great job, keep up the hard work. That's great, but it doesn't tell them, you know, what they're doing really well. And if you go to be like, hey, you're not doing, you know, you're not showing up on time, it's specific. But then when you give feedback that is criticism, start offering or talking about different solutions to help resolve the negative impact that they're doing, or whatever the words are. So like, if they're wearing the same shirt 3 days in a row, you might have to start off your feedback with saying like, I'm not sure the best way how to say this, but I'm going to go ahead and come out and say it. A concern that I have is that your hygiene does not seem to be where it needs to be to reach the level of professionalism this job requires. What I mean by that is that it looks like you've been wearing the same shirt for 3 days, and approach it that way. Another thing to remember with feedback is to do it not only being specific, but do it in a timely manner. So if you notice it, address it quickly. If you notice they're doing something well, don't wait a month to tell them. Say, hey, last week you stepped in and you helped cover 5 shifts. You have no idea how much I appreciate that. And I just wanted to tell you that now. I really appreciate you stepping in, taking time out of school and the busy life that it presents and filling those shifts for people. And I really appreciate that and wanted to tell you. So that's my tidbit, I guess, for giving feedback. Be specific and make sure you do it in a timely manner.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Timeliness is important when giving feedback. When you give them, like times of the day you give them feedback, as far as like, or the time of the semester, and when you give them feedback is important, as well as if something's going wrong, maybe that starts off with maybe that they can improve upon. So thank you, Jennifer.
You bet. Now I'm going to say, the lady in the blue shirt, the blonde hair, I'm sorry I don't know your name, but if you don't work with, if you don't see your student workers, feel free to also write them a note saying, hey, I noticed you've done this, or someone told me you've been doing this well. Thank you for your hard work, even though I may not see it all the time. Or thank you for your hard work on X, even though I may not see it all the time. Someone took the time to tell me, and I wanted to let you know I appreciate it. So, you're welcome. All right, I'm done. That's all I wanted to throw out there.
Okay, thank you guys so much. I can pull that other computer. There's 2 computers available for you to go ahead and fill out the nomination form now, so that way you don't have to do it later. There's also snacks in the back. Feel free to take those with you. And thank you guys so much for coming. If you need anything, please let me know. You can, yes, absolutely. It should be in your email. If you don't have it, it's in your email. Yeah, because I do have it. Yes, yes. Yes, please fill out your nomination. I have it pulled up on my computer.
Hey, Jessica.
Right now,
We didn't get a
yeah.
But I will ask you that.